Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Not Content Podcast. My name is Jerome Cuson. As always, joined by my colleague Brian. And Brian, here tonight, we are going to be discussing another Joe Dante joint. This one, it's Joe Dante presents the Fablemans in so many ways, as we will be discussing 1993's Matinee. Please leave a 4 or 5 star review to get the algorithms going on Spotify and Apple. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Click the bell icon for notifications. And Brian, all I could say is this is probably my favorite Joe Dante movie that we have discussed this month. And a lot of it's because John Goodman is great, but I did not realize that I was getting the backstory of Paul Heyman in ECW.
Well, not a lot of people know this story. I loosely have heard this story before. Basically, the way Paul Heyman got into wrestling, folks, is that he snuck in when he was a teenager in some East Coast show, snuck in the back during the meeting before the show, and then like the meeting starts or whatever, and then all of a sudden Dusty Rhodes notices him in the room and goes, "Who the hell let this kid in here?" But then he let him stay, allegedly, right? And then that's how he got indoctrinated into the business. Same thing happens to this kid in this movie. And I couldn't help but think this is the exact way that Paul Heyman got into wrestling. And not only that, we got a Paul Heyman speech from 1997, a la Be on the Mat. And God damn it, John Goodman did a hell of a job with that. And it makes me think like we never got a movie or a show with John Goodman as a wrestling promoter. This might be the closest thing, that and Righteous Gemstones, I guess. But this was fun. It was a fun watch. It's kind of weird because, again, I don't know. I feel like this is one of those movies where it's like it needs more of a structure or more of like a conflict, and they didn't really have that. This would have been an interesting movie directed by Robert Altman, if you kind of picture what I'm saying, in terms of like a series of events that kind of just happen and not necessarily like having like a structured plot line. It's just a couple days or a couple days in Florida during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So if they kind of put that together, it's kind of like a day of kind of thing, like a Clerks. You know, I love Clerks, but it's just a little different in terms of a plot structure.
I think what impresses me the most about this movie is the fact that, and there really is such a nostalgia for 1960s, especially the early 60s at this stage. I can't help but think of Forrest Gump. I also can't help but think that the Lion King song, my God, what a renaissance for that song. Matinee, Forrest Gump, Lion King, like what a
The
run.
Lion Sleeps Tonight. The Lion Sleeps Tonight. Yeah,
The
I
Lion
just
Sleeps Tonight. I can't believe it. Three movies in 93
not
that we.
only that, this movie had an interesting kid character that wore a particular cowboy hat that would look very familiar in the Pixar universe a few years later. Did you notice that?
I didn't really notice that, but you definitely feel like, or I definitely feel like that. I noticed the kid actors were really good. I think the kid performances. There's a lot of kids, and they're all pretty good, and you don't really see that in a lot of movies. I generally think Spielberg does a poor job with kid actors, but Joe Dante did an excellent job with these actors.
Yeah, and I noticed it's also the main kid from, you ever heard of that show Erie, Indiana, from back in the day that lasted like 2 seasons, like the Kids X-Files? That was the star of the
Uh,
show we saw.
Interesting.
Yeah, and he
Yeah,
was really good at that too.
it's there's a lot of really interesting people in this movie. Naomi Watts is in this movie for a hot minute.
I didn't even notice that.
She is the
uh,
lead in the film within a film that shook up shopping carts. Because I
oh my
definitely noticed
goodness.
that.
Okay, so we gotta lay this out. There's a movie within the movie, right? It's Mant. There's also a movie about a shopping cart that talks, which is probably like a ghost thing, which is a play on the Disney stuff that they were doing at the time, like live action, like the Bumblebee car talking or whatever, or like the Shaggy Dog. It's like some kind of ridiculous plot line that crosses over into the supernatural that's okay for families, and you get this shopping cart gimmick. And I couldn't help but laugh. But that's something you would notice as a kid. But it's like one of those adult things. It's like, oh, they're making fun of like old school Disney, where like Kurt Russell was like a kid era kind of thing. So I appreciated that fact. And yeah, I like the concept of the cart moving back and forth, and I feel like I've seen that later on in something else, but I can't remember.
Absolutely. So where do we want to go first? Do we want to talk about the greatness of John Goodman and the fact that he has never been nominated for an Academy Award?
Well, I mean, he's had his chances, that's for sure. And I know people are a little iffy on the Coen brothers on this podcast, but some of those performances were Coen brothers performances. God knows he was
Brian, let
great
me be
in
absolutely
Barton
clear.
Fink.
If John Goodman won for a Coen Brothers movie, I wouldn't care because the point is John Goodman not being even nominated. Like, I'm not asking for the win. He hasn't even been nominated for an Academy Award, and I think that's ridiculous.
Well, man, I tell you, Barton Fink's probably the one that I've seen that he deserved it the most because that was like a psychosis kind of thing, where he was like slowly revealing that he was the killer. And the spoiler alert, folks, in Barton Fink that he's the killer in the hotel. But yeah, I mean, it's a shame, but he's got his due, I guess, in the TV world. He was nominated like how many times in a row for
I
Roseanne,
mean,
and
I think he carried Roseanne in a lot of ways. I think he
he's
and
been not has he been nominated for Righteous Gemstones, or is he just
I
kind of like
don't
floating
know. I
around?
mean, like in terms of TV, like it's almost impeccable. Like he's definitely won Emmys. He's
Yeah,
definitely gotten his props. But I mean, I think about this character that he plays in Matinee is so completely different than the character he plays on Roseanne. It's completely different than the character he plays in Big Lebowski. Like the range of performances that he has been able to play over the years is not something that you see a lot of actors do these days. And it's remarkable because I think so many actors of his ilk, they get framed as, oh, he's the fat guy. He has almost never been that. Like he's a working class husband in Roseanne. He's a fucking carny in this movie. Like the Big Lebowski, he's a kind of a badass character. Like in 10 Cloverfield Lane, he's a creepy dad. I mean, the range that this guy has, man, it's unbelievable to me. And again, awards are not everything, but I think at least being nominated is an acknowledgement of how good he is. And it's just crazy to me that 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 he's never been nominated. I'm not should he been nominated for Matinee? Probably not, but like I think he is as
Barton
good
Fink for
in
sure. Barton Fink for sure. I just got to point that out because that's he was just
I
incredible in that.
think
But
I think he is as good in this movie as probably anyone else in 1993, but he's not going to get nominated because this is kind of a genre movie and genre movies never get the respect that they deserve at the Oscars, but like I think he is the set. I think that without him, and again, the kid performances are very good, but he is the centerpiece of this movie, and without him, I just don't think it works. I really,
yeah, he makes it really good. Like he's actually good. Like if you put him in any decade, like as if like you put him in the 1800s in terms of like a movie or something like that, he'll fit that character. He'll fit a character in any decade. So he's really good at like fitting in to all these different kind of roles and all these different kind of people, scumbags, family men, all kind of sorts of people. I even remember him in Red State for like the 2 minutes he was in it. You know what I mean? He was just like, oh my god, it's John Goodman, and he was there for 2 minutes, but. Yeah, he's incredible. I don't know what it is, but maybe I mean there's still time left, knock on wood. It depends, I guess, on the script. I mean, I don't know about a lead, but definitely a supporting role, something like that. We'll see. You never know. But I don't know. I just gotta move on. I want to move on to like Kathy Moriarty, man. There's something about her voice just makes any movie seem like it was from like 20 years prior, right? It just she seems so classic Hollywood, even in 1993, that it's like remarkable to me, right?
I think what's most impressive about her is that she's been nominated over the year. I mean, her literal acting debut, Brian, is Raging Bull. Think about that.
I know. That's what I'm
And
like. To me, that's like it's mind blowing because she's so like steals the show in that in a lot of her scenes, right? Like it feels like she's
I
better
think
than
that's
Joe
what she
Pesci
does
in that movie.
best. I mean, you
Yeah,
look at her career, she has done a lot of genre stuff. She's done a lot of TV. Like, I don't know that she has necessarily gotten the respect that she deserves in terms of roles, but she is definitely one of those people that she really elevates this movie. In some ways, I think she elevates this movie in the same way John Goodman does, just because I think she is inherently a credible performer. And yeah, I think she's very good. Like I said, I think John Goodman is the centerpiece of this movie, but I think she does an excellent job in her own right.
Yeah, for sure, because she's doing the gimmick where she's an actress, right? And that they're doing the movie within a movie, but she's also playing the nurse on the outside of the movie, where she's doing all these like signatures about like NDAs or whatever, which I've actually signed for a wrestling show, so I kind of relate to that. But like in the movie, she's got like dark brunette hair, so she's trying to like play into the, you know what I mean? It's like it's very kayfabe-ish, right? So I love that gimmick part of it. And she's just really great. Of course, I remember her the most from Casper growing up because I remember she was like the bad guy, quote unquote, in that movie. But just again, that voice, it's so like captivating. You know what I mean? It's a little bit of sexiness. It's like a little bit noir. It's a little dark, but it fits like whatever kind of like genre picture you're trying to do from a certain era of that era, like that golden Hollywood era. She fits that so well. So that kind of adds to this idea that we're going to do a nostalgia movie about movies from like the late 50s to early 60s. And she kind of fits that perfectly. So that the casting was great on that. Robert Picardo, I guess, is your, I don't know, he's your typical crazy, paranoid American in 1961 or whatever it was, just
Yep.
waiting for the nuke to
19,
fall and
well,
just being
this is accurate to the Cuban Missile Crisis. This is 1962.
62. And poor guy got, I guess, screwed over on the construction, thinking that it was like one of those doors that can be broken down. And John Goodman just breaks the door down with like a crowbar, showing you that he's a man's man. And just funny stuff like that because the kids get stuck inside, and you're wondering this whole time, like, where does this bomb shelter fit within the architecture of this building? Because the building looks so small on the outside. But I guess it's just part of that Hollywood magic where they kind of just like are making a joke out of the fact that there's all these bomb shelters out there that people were installing in their houses, and they seem so big in comparison to the small size of the house, but because they're underground, and all those kind of things they were playing into. And of course, you get this smart character. And what's her name again? She's the daughter in Mrs. Doubtfire.
Lisa Jakub, I believe is how you pronounce her. I think
Yes, and
she's a very good
yes,
young performer, and I
the
need to give her
smartest
number.
person on the planet, apparently, because she knows what's up. Because we all know that all the bullshit that we were being fed, and these drills for the nuclear bombs and all that kind of thing, and like, put your head down, hide under the desk, and just cover up.
It's fucking insane, man. I can't
I
believe
know,
like
and she's
I mean
pointing out the
I could believe
insanity.
it, but I can't believe it.
You know what I mean? And she's pointing out the insanity out to it all, right? And it's just like it seems so insane when you watch it because it seems like totally like logic being ignored, but that's what it was back then because they believed it because the government was spewing this shit. So God bless them, but you are never going to survive a nuclear fallout by covering your head and hiding under your desk. I'm sorry.
No,
And
no,
she,
no, 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 no.
no. And the funny thing is that her parents are so modern that they seem like they're from like 2026, right? So I thought that was a little funny.
I
Like,
mean, I think the idea is that they're the progressive parents. I mean,
and they sound so modern today. It was just like for
right.
today, not 1993, but today. So I thought that was really funny. And yeah, and the kids are trying to get dates and stuff. So that was really cool. The one thing I was shocked at, Jerome, is the fact that they got an earthquake machine in a theater. Yeah, dude, I hope this wasn't real back in the day. I know there was smell-o-vision. I know there was skeletons going across the stream. But man, an earthquake machine. Because I've been to the California Science Center where they have that earthquake machine where they simulate an 8 point whatever earthquake, and that is terrifying. So the fact that they got one for a theater just screams bad idea. Me and Jerome kind of related on this because like we've been to some indie shows where the structural integrity of the building hasn't been quite up to par. I can speak for that because at the Reseda building, El Generico literally pulled the roof down or whatever almost at one time. And little did we know in the audience that there was a fucking grenade up there that hadn't been used that was discovered later on. But in this case, the structural building, the structure of this theater was terrible. And God forbid something would happen like an earthquake machine mixed in with the fact that this fucking balcony is about to go down. And the balcony goes down and there's this big rescue. And it was kind of weird as a kid when I'm watching this. I kept thinking that the movie was trying to become alive within the movie that was within the movie. And because we actually see the man person, being portrayed live in the audience to scare people. So in my brain as a 5-year-old, when I first saw this in theaters, I was like, is the movie trying to come alive within the movie? Is that what's going on here? Being totally confused with what's going on, and really the building's just crumbling down, and they need to evacuate the building. And that's really it. And there's only one, like, I guess, antagonist, and that's like this greaser dude who's kind of like that hardcore greaser from It, right? Like, he's trying to be tough for like that one dude from Stand By Me. And I guess he's just like threatening kids and just trying to take people's girlfriends or whatever. and he ends up getting hired, and then he gets fired at the end of the movie and being blamed for all the action. So, again, very Robert Altman type plot line, I think.
Yeah, it definitely feels very. Um, it definitely feels like we're getting a movie that's a little bit all over the place. It's kind of messy, but it's kind of fun, if that makes sense. I think that what makes this movie as good as it is the performances and the sincerity and the fact that they do play it straight. Unlike, Joe Dante is probably like I feel like his best movie in some ways is like the movie he's probably best known for is Gremlins 2, even though he is also the director of Gremlins 1, just because of like he literally fucked around with Gremlins 2 and did whatever he wanted, and it was just this weird, like this very weird movie. So yeah, I am just utterly fascinated by so many elements of this movie, and I really appreciate the fact that we get something that is sincere, that does have some humor, that's very light on its feet, and it's also just like 90 minutes. It's not a 90-minute movie that ends up being an hour and 50 minutes because they needed 15 minutes more. Like I really like the fact that this movie is 95 minutes and they're out. And I think that's the way a lot more movies should be.
Right, and we get this happy ending that the Cuban Missile Crisis ends right after the incident at the movie theater, and everyone's happy, except the theater's closed now because the balcony got destroyed, and Robert Picardo gets fired at the end, I think. But the couple, in the end, John Goodman and Kathy Calloway, they go off and probably are going to get married or whatever and have their own kid. And now we got young Paul Heyman, who's like busy. He wants to like join the industry now at the end of the movie, and that's kind of like the happy ending. So very fun. It's a day. It's
I
not a
mean,
day
he
of. It's like
literally,
2 days
as much as
of
we
life.
say this is a Paul Heyman thing, he literally gives a very similar speech as to the one that Paul Heyman gave before Barely.
Right. So it's very funny because originally, right after we watched this, Jerome was like, "We should have did a right match," but I was like, "We can't exactly like place this in a match because it's more of a hodgepodge of all these different things that happen within the ECW's history." And not only that, it's like the gimmicks, right? Like the gimmicks with the tables and the ladders and the chairs and the barbed wire. And in the movie theater, you got the earthquake machine, you got a shocking machine underneath the seats, which I think is illegal. I'm not totally sure on that, but you got all these different gimmicks, and he wanted to have like, oh, and you got smoke coming out of the screen, which I think is like done in some like 40x screens nowadays. But just that kind of idea would lend itself to like these different like rides. Like before they switched it out, I think it was Shrek 4D. I think it's Pets 4D now at Universal Studios, but the same idea, 4D. They're gonna sneeze on you, right, and you get all this wet stuff on you. So it's this idea of breaking that fourth wall, very much that idea. Because a lot of these movies back in the day, these B movies that they were kind of basing it on, were all kind of competing each other for that same dollar, right? And basically they were relying on gimmicks and all that kind of thing. Like indie wrestling shows nowadays, like a CZW or something like that, or a GCW, where they're gonna have like a hardcore tournament or something like that. But instead, it's like Smell-O-Vision or like Scare-O-Vision or that kind of shit. So very relatable stuff in terms of like gimmicks. So I like that connection, but a fun watch altogether. 7 out of 10 for me.
I am also at a 7 out of 10. I think we are right in line in our thinking about this movie, and I very much enjoyed this. I think this was a strong effort, a perfect mid 90s, pretty good movie. The kind of movie that I kind of wish we got more of. And I know you refuse to acknowledge the existence of It Welcome to Derry, but I feel like there are parts of that show that ripped off parts of this movie. So at some point, if you decide that it can exist, we should discuss it.
Maybe if it's gonna have like cool 1950s, 60s references to like the Black Scorpion or something like that. Maybe. And I'm not talking Starcade. I'm talking a movie called The Black Scorpion about a giant black
Right.
scorpion,
Yes.
which is probably where Ole Anderson got the name anyway. But yeah. So
Right.
next week, folks, it's the main event. I've been talking about it for a while. Little did I know there was even a show coming out on Peacock about it, but The Burbs. And we've been talking about this because it kind of relates to one of our earlier first episodes we recorded together, Batman '89. We acknowledged the fact that in 1980 there was a writer's strike and how much affected all these different movies in '89. One of the primary examples that always comes up is The Burbs, because as we found out recently, Carrie Fisher was a script doctor, and she was casted as the wife to Tom Hanks in the movie. So it's probably like a double, you know what I mean? She was probably put in there not just for acting, but for like writing on the fly and kind of filling in the gaps, because once you got a locked script, they can't change it because of the rules of the writing staff or the writing guild or whatever. So once they hit that
Hmm.
strike, they couldn't change it. So what do you got to do? You got to improvise. You can see a lot of improvisation going on in the movie, but at the same time, the plot line is so interesting about like not trusting your neighbor. Very much that vibe from Rear Window, right? It has a lot of that Rear Window vibe as well. So I like that about it. But we'll find out because this is Drum's first time watching the movie, and it's going to be interesting how he feels about it. And I don't know if he likes this
It,
idea about
I did not
swinging.
realize how little Joe Dante had seen until I realized that we are watching 4 movies this month, and I have not seen any of them.
That's interesting. And I'd seen about half. So, yeah, that's why I wanted to pick these movies because, we've seen the usual stuff Gremlins 1 and 2. I know I haven't seen Piranha, but I've seen Piranha like a handful of times already because I like that movie a lot. And I've seen Looney Tunes. God forbid I've seen Looney Tunes, but this kind of
Yeah, I mean
fills in
that's
the gap.
definitely one I've seen, and it's bad.
Yeah. So next week it's The Burbs, it's Tom Hanks, it's Carrie Fisher, and Bruce Dern, Corey, one of the Coreys, but it's a fun watch. You'll notice some of the similar castings, right? You'll see Dick Miller, but it's a really fun watch because you'll notice it's the Universal backlot as well. So thank you for listening, and we'll talk again next week.